Hi everyone, my name is Kelsey. I'm an Associate Curator of Wildlife here at the High Desert Museum. Just really quick, I want to introduce the lady behind the camera. Her name is Becca. She's been filming each of these museum moments that we've had the pleasure of filming so far. So shout out to you, Becca. But today I'm very excited because we are going to be doing a behind the scenes look at the Desertarium. And you may have already noticed that this is not it is pre-recorded. It's not live, and that's because there is no Wi-Fi in the behind-the-scenes room of the Desertarium. There's a lot of cement. We kind of call it the black hole, and we don't get a whole lot of visitors back here either. So I'm very excited that you're all here today. Since we've been closed, it's been very quiet here at the museum, and all of you, all of our visitors, all of our guests, very dearly missed. So thank you so much for tuning in today. Today we'll be talking about all the care that is involved with all the animals that are here in the Desertarium, all the reptiles, fish, amphibians, and invertebrates. I'll be going over some of the improvements that we've been up to, not just since we've closed, but an ongoing process where we're improving enclosures, we're improving educational opportunities, so encounters that involve animals, what kind of changes are going on there. And then I'll be bringing out a very special animal guest for you that has a very special conservation message. And at the end, I'll encourage all of you to go out and learn as much as you can about some of our state's reptiles or wherever you're at. So to start, I'd like to draw everyone's attention to these whiteboards. So these whiteboards are extremely important here at the museum because they list every single reptile, amphibian, and invertebrate that are housed here in the Desertarium. We list where they are. So the left two boards tend to be all the animals that are on exhibit. So if you come to the museum, you'll see all of those animals. Some get swapped in and out for enrichment purposes, but all the animals here on the right, these are all the animals that are living back here in the Desertarium back room. So when Becca did that nice pan of the room, these are all of these animals. And all these animals are used as educational ambassadors here at the High Desert Museum. Each animal here has a very specific job, and these animals have a very important job indeed. So these boards also help us keep track of diet amounts, so what animals are getting fed, how often each X represents the time that an animal is getting fed, how often they receive their vitamins, and then any extra notes, something extra to consider, some change in the care routine for the animal. And these boards are not just for me, to be honest. I have them memorized at this point. I've been working here for almost 2 years now. But these boards are for if someone were to cover for me, if I were to take some time off for my normal weekend. Folks can refer to these boards, as well as my volunteers that might come in once a week. We aren't having our volunteers come in right now for their own safety and for our safety here at the museum. So I've been really missing them. So if any of my dear volunteers are listening, hello, and I miss seeing you. I hope you're well. And so this is kind of where every day starts, is these boards. But food and where they live, they're not the only things to consider. So enclosure plays a really big part in the way we keep our animals here at the museum. We want to make sure that all of their care needs are met, which that would include climate and their enclosure size. So I want to direct everyone over here. Come join me up here. This is an enclosure that we've most recently or one of the enclosures we've recently updated. This houses our Central Asian tortoise. She's mowing down on some treats right now, but this enclosure was recently updated for her, specifically for her. She's a very active animal, so we designed this so that she has plenty of little rooms to go in, dark cool rooms, dark warm rooms, a nice basking area, places she can go in the water. So this enclosure was actually made by one of our volunteers. He is retired, but he's taken up carpentry, and he makes these enclosures with our help with the design, and he donates them for free. And so we are extremely, extremely fortunate to have him help us improve the quality of life for these reptiles that we have. So if we want to come back down, we'll head over to the next enclosure. Another big, huge improvement that we've made here. So I'm hoping that throughout time, we can change all of these older glass terrariums into these beautiful wooden enclosures that not only are they bigger, but they're much more suited for the animals that live in them. So these enclosures are much easier to control climate, keep climate nice consistent temperature gradient for the animal, more space for them to move around. But then along with that, these sliding glass doors are pretty special. And no more will we have to lift a reptile up over the top of their lid. We can just slide the door open, reach inside. We might even be able to train them to elect to come out and enter their own enclosure or their own transport container, which would be awesome. And it's also much easier to tend to clean. So it's good for the animal, it's also good for the caretaker as well. So this is where we keep our ball python. He is getting ready to shed right now. A very reclusive time for them. He's hiding in his little warm hide right there. And if you stay tuned with our Instagram for the next couple days, not only will I be talking about all the diet preparation that goes into each day here at the museum, what the animals eat, but also what a shed cycle looks like for a snake, what kind of goes on during that. We'll be talking about that, so stay tuned. All right, so I'm gonna come over here. So this is something unique. If you attended our Reptile Encounters this summer or you've been to some of our education programs, this might look familiar to you. We call this the snake exercise board. We put them on it for enrichment purposes behind the scenes, but we've also started putting our snakes on this board as a hands-free way that we can have them involved in educational encounters. So when we put the snake on the board, we don't bother them anymore. They're able to move around. They're given free will, they're given choice. And it kind of sounds a little bit silly to give a reptile choice, but it's a really important part of their welfare, giving them the option to participate. And so I'm gonna get our guest out right now. I have a beautiful king snake to show everyone. If you've been to some of our encounters in the past, you might be familiar with him. So this is Martin. He's been in our education pool for quite some time, and will visit our classrooms, library programs, and our reptile encounters that we have over the summer. And so I'd like to talk a little bit about this species, get everyone excited about snakes, because as we enter into the springtime, our snakes and all reptiles are going to be coming out of their hibernation that they undergo in the wintertime. It's called brumation. Well, they're going to sleep, when the weather is nice and cold, not warm enough for them to warm their cold-blooded bodies. So as the weather warms, you'll see more reptiles out and about, and that might include king snakes depending on where you live. So king snakes as a species are found all across the United States. There are several subspecies. We aren't sure exactly what subspecies Martin is. We just refer to him as a common king snake. But out here on the West Coast, we do see many different California king snakes. They are found from southern Oregon down into California and then into Mexico as well. So a pretty broad range that encompasses some of the high desert. So high desert species. And in the high desert, they are going to be really important ecosystem. They're going to function very importantly in their ecosystem. They're going to be predators. So they keep the ecosystem in balance, keep those prey populations in check. And with a king snake, that's especially cool because they eat such a wide variety of prey. So they will eat rodents, of course. Many snake species will feed on rodents, but king snakes will feed on other snakes. That might be how they got their name. That would include rattlesnakes. They also will feed on other reptiles, amphibians, and even birds. So wide prey base that they're going to be responsible for keeping that population in check. And they're found in many different habitats. They're found in grasslands, desert areas, shrublands, forests, even maybe in your own neighborhood, depending on where you're from. So I just want to show really quick. He's going into his cooler on his own. He may have not been super excited about the pegboard today, but we've shown them we leave their enclosure open, so they always have the option to end the encounter on their own. So there's some choice right there at work. He chose to go back in his home away from home, which is pretty cool. I'm just going to close it for him so he's nice and comfortable in there while I finish up really quick. So like I said, snakes are coming out of hibernation, reptiles are coming out of hibernation. I found as I give encounters, there's a lot of reptiles that folks didn't even know are in their own backyard in most cases. So I encourage everyone to go online, maybe even after this is over. If you are an Oregon resident, go to myodfw.com where you can search for a myriad of all the different species of animal that live in this state, not only reptiles. If you're into mammals, you can check out mammals, birds as well. So please go online and check out all the snakes that we have in our state, because there are so many different species, and most of them do not pose any threat to us as humans. They're not a danger to us at all. In fact, they're a really big help to us. So if you're a little bit afraid of snakes, or even if you're just really curious about them, I encourage you to go online, check them out. You'll find that there is so much to be appreciative of these snakes, and very little to be afraid of. So that's it for me today. Please consider going and checking out the Instagram later in the week for some cool posts by me. Thank you very much for joining in today. Again, we miss all of you. I hope that you're all doing very well. And join us again at 1 o'clock on Thursday.